Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about all of the books that are on my to be read. There's just so many books to read in so little time, and I have a pretty long list, but I feel like I have some really great ones on there. So these are going to be like the top of my TBR, like ones that I need to read this year or, you know, in the next coming year. I do have like 75 books on my TBR, so I'm not going to go through all 75. That's why I'm going to kind of narrow it down to just the favorites. Also, along with the books that are on my TBR, I'm gonna put the ones that are like my most anticipated. So they're on my TBR, they're supposed to be coming out this year, and I'm very excited for them. Speaking of, number one is Wild Side. This is by Elsie Silver. This is the third book in the Rose Hill series, which you guys know I am sickly obsessed with Elsie Silver. This book comes out this year. I think it comes out in May. Oh my god, no, it comes out March 4th. I'm so excited because that's so soon. Small town, country romance, you know, it's just my favorite vibe. The next book is My Year of Rest and Relaxation. This is a book that I have seen everywhere. I am really unsure if I will like it. I honestly could not tell you what this book is about. I just have it on my TBR and I know I really want to read it. That's honestly how like a lot of these books are. I just trust you guys so much. So if you tell me to read something, I will put it on this list. So the next book is Conversations with Friends. This is by Sally Rooney. I also have Intermezzo on this list because both of them by Sally Rooney I think that I will really like. Normal People changed, like it literally altered my brain chemistry, so I just know that I love her writing in general, and I don't know why I never went back. I wish I would have, right after reading Normal People, went back and read Conversations with Friends, but nonetheless it's on my TBR. I will get to it. Next up is Onyx Storm. You guys know I will be reading this. It's by Rebecca Yarros. It is the third book in the like series with Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, all of that. I'm also gonna do a reading vlog for it because you guys specifically requested that, and I did them for the last book, so I'm really excited for it. But I actually posted a video on my TikTok talking about how I just have this weird thing where if a book is very popular, which obviously it's very popular right now, everyone was like running to get the limited edition book. I just get too overwhelmed by reading it with everyone else. Like I just need to like wait 1 or 2 months and then I will read it on my own, if that makes sense. I know you guys want my thoughts, but I promise you, all of them will be in a reading vlog eventually. I just need to give it some time. Give me like a few more weeks and I'll get to it. Next up is Shadow and Bone, and then also Six of Crows. So these are by the same author, but Shadow and Bone is the prequel to Six of Crows. So it's like in the same world, but what happens in Six of Crows is like a couple years after what happens in Shadow and Bone. So it's a fantasy series. I'm very interested in reading it. Once again, you guys know I don't read the backs of books a lot, so I don't really know what this one is centered around. And I didn't watch the show, which I think it's like a Netflix show or something. Yeah, I didn't watch any of that, so I'm very interested to go into this completely blind. The next book is Heartless Hunter. First of all, the cover of this just like speaks to me. I know that I'm gonna like it, and I think it has to do with witches. It's giving enemies to lovers. I'm probably going to be in love. My only hesitation with this is it's going to be a series, and I think this is the only book that's out right now, so it's fine. I'll read it and I'll really love it, but I hate starting what's gonna be a series and then not having the books for a while. That's how I felt about Quicksilver. Like I was obsessed with Quicksilver, but I was also really bummed because where is the rest of the books? Like, where are they? Okay, I've had Hooked on here for a really long time. I think this is dark romance and it's like a take on Peter Pan. I could be so wrong. Let me read the description, because why do I have this on here and why do I want to read it so bad? I think it's about Peter Pan. Okay, yes, it's about Peter Pan. It says it's a reimagining of Peter Pan, except for it's like dark romance, I think, or at least it's like spicy. So I'm so interested to read this, especially because I see so many good things about this, and there are 6 books in this series. 6 books. I'm gonna eat these up. I already know. Next, we have A Flicker in the Dark. This is a book that has been on my TBR for a really long time. I just feel I need to read, and weirdly enough, it's never been spoiled for me. Like I don't know anything about the plot, which is kind of shocking. It's about a group of girls that went missing in this like really small town, and then it's 20 years later, one of the girls who's from that town, who like remembers all of those girls going missing, another girl goes missing, and it kind of like sparks her interest, and she's like, this is the same thing that happened 20 years ago, whatever. So I think she kind of like investigates it. It's also set in Baton Rouge, which I'm from Louisiana. I was born in Louisiana. I'm from Texas. I can't say I'm from Louisiana because I've spent a lot of time in Louisiana. My whole family lives there, and so I'm interested. I always like reading books in settings that I've been before or know very well. Oh my god, next we have the Zodiac Academy. There are so many books in this series. Let's see how many. Oh my god, this says 20 works. There are 9 primary works in this series, but then there's also like a bunch of novellas. This is why I haven't committed to Zodiac Academy, even though my friend Alethea read it and was like, you would absolutely love this. I fear I would. It's like supernatural. It also has to do with like the elements of the earth. I don't know. I just know it's supernatural. I think that there's fae, and I think there's enemies to lovers, and that right there, you've got me. Then I have Once Upon a Broken Heart. This one looks amazing. I've seen so many good things about it, so I know that I'll really love it. And then I also have the Inheritance Games on here. I think it's a 3-book series. I think it's a trilogy. The Inheritance Games I'm really excited about because from my understanding, it's like about this girl who basically gets an inheritance from a random person, like a lot of money, all of these assets, all of these things, I think, but she has no idea why. And the guy who like left her all of this money and all of her inheritance is really into like puzzles and riddles and things like that. So hence the Inheritance Games. I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be really good. And I do think it's a trilogy. I actually have the physical Inheritance Games right here. So I'm probably going to start that one very soon. I have a Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but I need someone to convince me to read it because it's been on my TBR for about 2 years now and I just have never gotten around to it. Can you guys please in the comments convince me to read this book? Because once a book sits on my TBR for so long, I start to kind of get over it. And I think it's a Netflix show now and I'm like, am I just gonna watch it on Netflix? I typically don't like to do that. I always like to read the book first, but for some reason, the longer it sits, the less inclined I am to read it, which makes me think it's a bad book. And I know that that's not true. You guys know I really wanted to read horror books this year, so there are a couple horror books that I have on my TBR that I'm really stoked to read. So I decided to dive into reading some Stephen King books, which I'm not gonna read It or The Shining or anything. I might read them afterwards, but I decided because his most recent book that he just released is a book called Holly. That book is centered around one of his characters that is a reoccurring character. So I went on Goodreads and I actually saw that the first book that she comes up in is The Outsider. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read The Outsider, and then the second book is If It Bleeds, and then the third one, which came out in 2023, is Holly. So I'm gonna read those 3 in that order. I really want to get into horror books this year. I really just think he would be a great place to start. I read one horror book last year, Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey, and I did not enjoy it at all, which speaking of, you guys told me that I would like, where is it? We Used to Live Here, which you guys have told me is a better version of Just Like Home. So I'm gonna read that, We Used to Live Here, which is another horror book. I think it's very similar to Insidious from comments that I've read before. I really just want to have some creepy, eerie books this year. I love reading thrillers, but I just think I need a little bit more. Okay, the next book is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I don't know how to say her last name, but this book looks so good. It is centered around a girl who is cursed to live forever, but she also, like every single person who meets her forgets her. So they never remember her ever. But then what I saw on TikTok, this is what made me want to read this book. It was like this quote, and there's a man who sees her like the next day or something and is like, oh my gosh, you're so-and-so, I remember you. And she's like really freaked out or something because obviously she has a curse where she lives forever and no one is supposed to remember her. So I'm really interested in this book. I feel like it's probably gonna make me cry and make me really emotional, which I would be grateful for. Oh my God, another anticipated release is Rewind It Back. This is the 5th book in the Windy City series. This is by Liz Tomford. I love everything about the Windy City series. If you haven't read them, you're fully missing out. They are romance novels. They're sports romance novels. So each one has been a different sport so far, and they're like very different tropes. Like one of them is like the athlete, and then it's like a flight attendant. The other one is single dad, nanny trope. One of them is like the boss's daughter. There's just so many different ones. We've got an arranged marriage trope in there. there. Well, not arranged marriage, but like forced marriage or whatever. I don't know, but the 5th one comes out this year and it's called Rewind It Back. And when I tell you I'm gonna read this, I actually have to slow myself down because I'm gonna be so excited about it. Another book I wanna read is Never by Jessa Hastings. I read Magnolia Parks last year by Jessa Hastings and I fell in love with it. I still think about it whenever I see Magnolia Parks quotes come up on my TikTok. I'm like so emo because reading that series was one of the highlights of my whole year. I loved it all so much. And I really just miss her writing. And so she has another series out and it's called the Never series, I think. And it is a romantasy series. So the first book is out and it's just called Never. And I don't exactly know what it's about, but the cover looks really cute. And I just know if it's Jessa Hastings writing, I'll most likely fall in love with it. So I'm really stoked about that. The next one is Home is Where the Bodies Are. This is by Geneva Rose. I actually have had this for a while. I think it came out in 2024 and I really wanted to read it, but I just never got around to it. I love Geneva Rose writing and I love her thrillers. So I added this one on there. The concept of Home is Where the Bodies Are is basically it's centered around these siblings who have like grown apart. They've like grown apart a little bit, but their mom passes and so they go back to their childhood home and they're going through all of their parents' stuff and they find some old like VHSs. On the VHS, when they plug it in, it's their parents and they have like a dead body and there's like all of this stuff and it's pretty much like a mystery, but it's a night that none of them remember. So they're basically trying to piece together like what happened to this night, what was going on, and it's all on these home videos that they have. I think the concept is so interesting, so I'm very stoked about this one. The last couple books that I have on here, I don't know much about, but they're on my TBR, which I would like to read. So I have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, which was very, very popular this past year. I just never got into it, but I got gifted it. So I was like, maybe I'll read it. It's literally right behind me. I was like, maybe I'll read it. Maybe I'll really like her writing, which you guys have told me I would. So I have Just for the Summer. I also have a book called Medusa's Sisters, which I don't know much about this author or this book in particular, but you guys know I'm really interested in Greek mythology, so I want to keep that going in 2025. And I think the concept of looking at Medusa's sisters in like a retelling historical fiction kind of way would be really, really cool. I also have the rest of the books by Kristen Hanna on here. So I have The Great Alone, I have The Women. I'm really excited to read more Kristen Hanna because as you guys know, I'm currently reading The Nightingale. I'm about 80% through. So honestly, by the time you're watching this video, I've probably finished it by now. I have already cried like twice reading the book. So I just know the ending is probably going to ruin my life. But I have been loving Kristen Hanna and The Nightingale is so, so incredible, as I knew it would be. So I'm planning to read more books from her. So that is it for all of the books that are on my TBR. I honestly have so many more that I want to read, but these are just the standout ones that I'm really interested in. If you guys want to, you guys can follow me on Goodreads. That's where I update you guys on what I'm reading, how far I am into my books, and what books are on my TBR, what books I've already read if you're interested. It's all over on my Goodreads. I also have a Fable account, which I just opened, so you guys can go on my Fable and you guys can read what I have over there. But that is pretty much it. Also, I have my book account, so if you guys are new here and you guys don't follow my book accounts, I have them on TikTok and on Instagram. They're both at Kiki's Book Rat, so you guys can stay up to date with me because the merch is coming. I promise you it's coming very soon. I'm also getting a restock of the Reading Olympics shirts right now, so they're currently being screened. They'll be ready in the next couple weeks, which I'm stoked about. So yeah, that is pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys have some other book related content that you guys really want to see, you guys should just leave it in the comments down below and I'll get to it. But thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.